Logan's an extraordinary community, so it welcomes people from all over the world and really from every walk of life. So it's one of those communities that's sort of crackling with life. But because it welcomes everybody, with that comes some challenges. And it's a community where there've been really decades of work to come together to support people on their journey, wherever they might be. So there's an awful lot happening, always has been an awful lot happening, and it's an extraordinarily diverse community. So there wasn't one progenitor of Logan Together coming together. There were lots. There had been a precursor movement known as the Logan Child Friendly Community Consortium, which had done a whole lot of fantastic collaborative work. There was a bunch of the larger non-government organisations looking to support a particular community to trial some collective impact work. And then there was some community unrest in about 2013. It acted as a very important catalyst for the community to come together and say, look, geez, we're getting sick of being portrayed in this way. There's so much of value and so many great things happening in our community. We really want a narrative that's about change, progress, and celebrating what we're about, not just about some of the challenges.
My interest in things happening in the community space had been piqued, as had most people, after the riots in 2013. Like many people, I was thinking, oh great, this is another stick to beat Logan with. But I was really pleasantly surprised that it actually turned into this sort of community coming together and saying, do you know what, we're tired of this, we need to see some change.
It was the perfect storm, really. There was so much happening here, and some of it hit the media. We had an event of some violence in the streets, and people talk about that as the catalyst for bringing this together. But really what was happening before that was a whole lot of us who were doing a lot of work were trying to come together. There was the bringing together. We were coming together and saying we need to do this better. We can't keep duplicating. We can't keep just plugging away at our own thing. We have to come together. So there was this great sense of wanting to come together. What happened is we had a whole bunch of network meetings, and I think we had about 40 different networks in Logan. And people then knew that wasn't going to cut it either. We needed to do something more than network. So there was certainly this sense of urgency and this sense of we have to do something better than this. And I think that has put organisations and individuals in a place where they really wanted to not only explore how things could be done differently, but pay the price that's required for it as well.
I think some of the challenges down here in Logan is that historically we have been the site of many pilot projects, and I think that has created a level of fatigue within the community, and I think a level of apprehension about, oh, here we go, here's yet another pilot project or reform-based sort of type project. So I think that's probably been one of the biggest challenges, is trying to reinvigorate the community and bring them on the journey with us.
And the political leadership at both the state, the Premier and the Mayor, acted very swiftly and very successfully, I think, to bring people together in a summit. And out of that summit came an action plan, which was a set of hopes for the future. But what came out of that action plan was a working group to really look at the future of kids in the city. And one of the great sort of cries that came out of that summit was, we really want this city and the future to be better for our kids than perhaps the experience that we've had. There's that, I think, universal cry that we want things to be better for the next generation.
So in order to reinvigorate a community, we had to really demonstrate that we were offering something that was different to perhaps has been done previously, and that there was going to be new ways of working that would deliver the sort of outcomes that we haven't previously seen in the past.
I remember being impressed that council jumped onto it and all of these things seemed to be happening, and then I was hearing about Logan Together, I was on their social media, and I just vaguely knew that they were focusing on little kids, and it seemed like a great idea, and it seemed that it certainly the vibe was very positive and optimistic about Logan's future.
In terms of getting ready and taking those first steps, there was no shortage of will and no shortage of energy or talent. But there was a shortage of model and consensus about a way forward. And that's where I think collective impact has been a very, very powerful methodology around the world, because it's simple, but it does bring the pieces together and gives people a methodology to go forward. And buried in there somewhere were the roots of the thing that became Logan Together.
We were ready as a community to do something differently. We knew we had to. But just that intent is not enough. And I think we had the understanding that relationships were going to be very important, how we did this together.
In order to get the community and sector ready for change, we had to provide, opportunities for various groups to come together in a very sort of safe and open forum, so that we could get the right people at the table. We could make sure that we were inclusive of the diverse voices that exist in Logan, including the diverse voices of our parents and our families. And certainly, there's been a lot of goodwill out there in that regard. So the question that we asked community and sector starting off this process is, how can we support you to deliver better outcomes for your children and families?
The way that they approached us was the question that Matthew Stratham is, what would you like us to do for you? And that really changed. That allowed us to say, wait, hang on, this is different.
It was actually very easy to get consensus, because people were incredibly motivated. And people often sort of, joke. They say, do you really need a riot to kick one of these projects off? And jokingly I say, no, but it does help. There was a great amount of energy in the community, and I think what we managed to do was to harness that and give it some positive direction. So building a consensus and using all of the inspiration we got from other communities around the world, digging into that collective impact methodology, bringing the stakeholders together, was actually a fairly smooth process for us.